Hello and welcome to my new video. If you're new here, hi, I'm Lex. I think it's high time I created an updated version of my process for creating an island, from the conception of my island theme to actually setting the island up and completing it. Even for seasoned Animal Crossing enthusiasts, completing an island is a trial. It can take dozens of hours of playtime to design an entire island, especially if you don't have ready access to treasure islands or to active Animal Crossing friends who can give you resources and decorations. As a YouTuber who has designed more than 10 complete islands now, which have been on the screen this whole time, I want to share my tips, tricks, resources, and ideas with you. First of all, before you reset or start designing, I think it's smart to choose a theme. What do you want your island to look like? This can be hyper specific like solar punk or super broad like normcore. Your theme can be as simple or complex as you like, or you can literally do an island with no theme and just build what your heart desires as you have ideas. Regardless, you're gonna want to know what your expectations are so you don't have to backtrack and demolish a bunch of stuff later. When I'm picking a theme, I spend a lot of time on Pinterest looking especially at custom designs I might want to use. If a design really speaks to me, I'll literally shape my island around that. I've made Pinterest boards for a dozen or so different theme ideas I might want to revisit in the future, and I also have Pinterest boards for my last few islands for the codes that I used on those. So I'll link my Pinterest below in case you want to see those boards. You can also find theme inspiration on YouTube, Instagram, X, Blue Sky, which I just joined, by the way, if you want to follow me there, just by scrolling through Animal Crossing content and seeing what other creators are up to, or by checking out an online ACNH catalog to see what sorts of items you'd like to use. Honestly, it's easy to get theme ideas from literally anything when it comes to Animal Crossing content. Personally, once I've decided on a theme, I jump right in. You might need to restart a few times if you want a specific type of map or airport color. This is assuming that you are doing an island from scratch, that you are resetting your save data. Obviously, if you are going and just redecorating an island you already have, you're not going to have to restart, like you're just going to go with whatever you already have. But assuming this is a new island, your first order of business should always be to get through the introduction to the game, listen to Tom Nook, get the initial villager houses and shops set up so you can unlock terraforming, especially if your theme is going to have heavy terraforming. My biggest tips for this stage of the game are to place as many buildings as you can on or at least near the beaches. That just leaves the majority of the land open for you to do whatever you need to do to put buildings wherever you want them to go. You can move the houses later when you know for sure where you want them to be. When you set up the 3 housing plots, by the way, that you need to make furniture for, this will be essentially the easiest time to villager hunt if you want specific villagers. So when you get those 3 housing plots, the first 3 villagers you find on mystery islands will always be a normal villager, a lazy villager, and a peppy villager. So if you want super specific villagers for your island that are one of those personalities, I think that it's worth stocking up on Nook Mile tickets and hunting till you find those specific villagers with those personalities. After these 3 housing plots are filled, all the Mystery Island villagers later will be totally random, so the pool will never be that easy to manipulate again. I tend to worry about villagers later if I need to. I can always hunt again if I need to replace someone. You can also use resources like Nookazon, Animal Crossing Discord servers, or even my Discord server, the Lex Play Discord, if you'd like to trade with other players to get a villager or to give away your own. Before I talk about how to plan my island, I also just want to share that my favorite free treasure island to grab resources and items from is the Ms. and Liz Discord server, which I'll link in the description. If you need items, they have multiple treasure islands for free that you can visit literally anytime. Like, this is not sponsored. That's just how I get my islands designed so quickly. So if you have Discord and Nintendo Online, I will pop that in the description for you. In order to unlock terraforming, you're going to need a minimum of 8 villagers moved in on your island. In addition to that, I always place at least 50 fences and flowers, 10 or so shrubs, and like 50 furniture items. You need to get as many of the fruits on your island as possible too, and plant them. After that, I just listen to Isabelle, add whatever I think I'll need to get more island points. A bridge or an incline will go a long way. There are plenty of guides online if you're struggling to get to that 3-star island rating, but talking to Isabelle about island feedback will usually give you a good idea of what you're missing. Anyway, once I've gotten my island set up and unlocked terraforming, I like to exit the game itself and do some planning on paper, or should I say digital paper, my iPad. This will depend on how you prefer to plan. I personally am a visual planner, so I like to make illustrations of my islands. Sometimes I do simple ones using my map and just labeling where I want things to go if I know what kind of builds I want to do. Other times I'll actually draw a whole build, a whole area that I want to build and try to plan out the dimensions of that. I think any sort of little drawing can be helpful, but the map ones especially help me because I can start visualizing where I want buildings to go and how much space I have to work with once they're all placed. This was especially helpful with my island Nightshade, which I built almost entirely in live streams. Since I was building very spontaneously each day, it was pretty much essential to have a little map to guide me. If I have a really fun idea and I don't want to forget it, I do a quick sketch so I can try and build it when I'm actually on Animal Crossing. I think having a visual of the island plans can just be a good motivator because you can see that like what there is to look forward to. Once I see the island plan, I'm always really pumped to get it done so I can see it on the actual island. You can also try working with a deadline if you work better with a little pressure. For instance, I knew I wanted to post the dream address for Nightshade and the tour on Halloween this year, so I had to get it done in just a few months. But since I had that timeline in mind, I knew how much I needed to get done during each of my streams. Honestly, it was so helpful to have other players to talk to as well. I was able to brainstorm with my viewers in chat who offered so many helpful ideas that ended up actually being incorporated into the island. So that's another reason I always think it's a great idea to join the online community in some capacity. I mean, you're here, so that's already a step in the right direction. Like, I'm another player who can help motivate you. But whether it's a little gaming account on Instagram or literally just chatting in a Discord server with other players, I think it's a good idea to communicate with other players who can help motivate you and give you advice or, you know, ideas if you are running into some burnout or lack of motivation or inspiration. Once I have my island ready for building and I've done some brainstorming on builds and areas that I want to do on the map, I jump right into designing. I find it easiest to start by using the actual island buildings. So setting at least one building up somewhere and using the dimensions of that to help shape different areas. That or I work on huge terraforming areas first if I know I'm going to need a ton of space for something like a big overlook, a huge waterfall area, something like that. Just things that are big that I can start shaping my map around. I work on little areas one at a time so I don't get burnout, but obviously you can go a little faster if you're feeling really inspired. What I mean by that is if I decide I want to build the shop today, that's probably all I'm going to do. I'll set Nook's Cranny somewhere, decorate around it, and that'll be my build for the day. I get burnout if I go too quickly. Some tips I have for this building stage are to use pathing to outline where you actually want to place buildings or inclines and bridges. Using pathing first can just help you see how things will fit without placing them and having to move them later, which can be expensive and time consuming. My viewer Snazzy Jazzy also suggested using fences to outline buildings if you want to see how their like position will look from a distance, because you know fences have some height. I think that's super clever. I also think it's smart to get some of the items and plants you want to use ahead of time so you don't build everything and then have an entire island to decorate. Adding things as you go can make it a lot less overwhelming and less daunting. Throughout my building process, I consistently reference my Pinterest boards for inspiration or to find new items to work into my theme. So if you're feeling burnout, try working on a different part of the island or taking a break. Or like I said, looking at things like Pinterest to get inspiration from other players who have already built things. If you're not happy with what you're building, sometimes you do just need to look away from it for a minute. We are our own harshest critics. Like I said, building an entire island usually takes dozens of hours. It's a long process, but it's so rewarding to finish an island and get to run through it and remember creating everything, and also just being able to share it with people once you set that as a dream address if you choose to. It's just a rewarding process. Even before I finish my islands, I really like to run through the areas that I have decorated to kind of motivate myself to keep going. That's like classic Animal Crossing behavior. You have to run through what you've already built at least a dozen times. It's just fun. If you're someone who gets tired of an island theme, maybe try a dual theme where half the island is one theme and the other half has a different aesthetic. And remember that island building isn't always linear. You'll probably be doing a ton of planning as you go along and get a better idea of the space that you're working with for each build. I also recommend building things next to each other as you go so you don't have to worry about making weird connections later. But if you're already this far along in the process and you just have a lot of empty space between your builds, I do have lots of videos on transition area ideas and just all sort of of filler spaces that you can use to help you finish up your island. I hope my process is helpful for you. It's certainly evolved as I designed more and more islands, but I'm so confident now that I can finish any theme that I start. Good luck on your island, and thank you so much for watching. Remember to drop a like if this was helpful at all, and subscribe if you enjoy Animal Crossing or other cozy games. I'm currently building a tiny island called Mini Isle every Wednesday and Friday at noon Eastern time, so pop into the streams if you want to see my process in practice live. Until next time, bye!